the saga continues. Krzysztof Wlodarczyk, 53 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 37 knockouts, takes on Murat Gussiev, 24-0, 17 knockouts. This Saturday night, Newark, New Jersey. FightJournal.com will be in the house. It's part of the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight division, which has been great so far, except for one thing. They dropped the ball on the television deal. Now, there really hasn't been U.S. television for this, and most people have had to either stream the fight by whatever means necessary or use AT&T's audience network. You can view the fights there, and there's somewhere else that you can watch the fight, and I can't quite remember what it was, but I know you can do the AT&T audience network. And of course, if you have some type of streaming apparatus, your computer, an Android cable box, Fire Stick, so on and so forth, you'll be able to pick up the fight there. But there was somewhere else legitimate that was showing the fight, and I can't remember. If I do remember after this video, I'll put it in the body of the description, because there was something else I was reading. Anyway, now in the cruiserweight segment of the tournament, there aren't any American boxers, so there's some who believe that U.S. TV isn't important for this. I disagree. Fans are really, who haven't seen this, are really missing out on a good tournament. The turnaround time for the fights has been quick, and I think that leads to part of the problem as far as the participants. These guys fight in this tournament, and we have American guys who talk about, oh, I need 6 or 7 months to do this. They need this much money. They shouldn't have to fight this guy or have to fight that guy. That's not what's happening in this tournament. Listen, these guys fight, and guess what? They're getting paid nicely to do so. Let's put it this way. There are going to be quite a few new millionaires in this world. The pot for the cruiserweight as well as the super middleweight portion of the tournament, for each, the pot is $50 million total, and whoever wins this tournament could walk away with $10 million. So the money goes up each round that you advance. This is the final quarter. No, I'm sorry. Yes, no, this is the final quarterfinal fight, and whoever wins it, they're going to be in that $10 million category. Now, if you remember the Super 6 tournament that Andre Ward won, what did it take, like 3 years, 4 years? It seemed like it took forever to complete it. Seems that way. Then you had guys that were dropping out left and right. I mean, it was a joke. But not this tournament. Not this one. The only complaint is American TV. And if you think that's not an issue, remember, there have been fights that have taken place in America, San Antonio, Texas. Now we're talking about Newark and New Jersey. So if they do something like this again, it'll be nice if a network picks it up. At least the cruiserweight semifinals and then the cruiserweight final. Give me the semifinal, the two semifinals, and then the final, and I'd be happy. Especially since 90% of these fights will end in knockout. They're even matchups, this Cruiserweight World Boxing Super Series tournament. Most of the fights are even matchups based on seeding, but these guys hit so hard that somebody's almost guaranteed to get knocked out in I would say 90% of the fights. You'll have a couple that'll go the distance, but this is what fans want, and it's a shame that people are missing it. Mind you, as I stated, they're running a super middleweight tournament simultaneously, and they're fighting back to back. It's not 8-10 months between fights, and then it's going to take 2 or 3 years to finish. And speaking of the super middleweight tournament, let me just add this piece. Make sure you catch the George Groves versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight. Trust me, it's going to be bananas. The press conferences, the lead up to it, the fight, it's going to be crazy. All right, so let's talk about the fight Saturday night. You got Wlodarczyk, who won the IBF title way back in 2006 with a split decision over Steve USS Cunningham. And since he lost it back to Cunningham. He's faced Gregory Drost, Steve Cunningham, Danny Green, amongst others. Gussiev beat Felix Cora Jr., and then he fought the undefeated Isaiah Thomas in an IBF eliminator. If you don't recall that fight ended after the third round in a no contest after he hit Thomas slightly after the bell. Thomas probably could have continued, but Jay Nady kept yelling to anyone within earshot that if Thomas couldn't continue, it would be scored a no contest. Thomas heard that and decided he wanted an early night, so he said he couldn't continue. Jay Nady is a prick. So Isaiah Thomas is one of the most talented cruiserweights you'll ever see. But he's also one of the laziest. And he was certainly getting beat to the punch that night early on. It was going to be a great fight, and it was ruined. Thank you, Jay Nady, and thank you, Isaiah Thomas. And Gussiev took on, after that, Gussiev took on Jordan Schimmel and landed a punch that was the FightJournal.com's knockout of the year for 2016. I'll post the video below of it. I'll post the video of the knockout, and then I'll post the video that I did with all of the finalists for that, or the nominees. And in the video where I'm talking, If you look below, you'll see links to each fight. I'll just post that. And then the last one, if you don't want to go listen to me, that's fine. If you don't want to go through the entire list, the last link at the bottom will give you the winner. I did that for Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year. And I listed the finalists and listed links. And then finally, the last link in the video, if you select it, will show you the knockout. I mean, left hook, right on the sweet spot. Schimmel was out cold, and Gussiev did what he had to do. So after that, Gussiev fought Denis Lebedev, and he won the IBF title. I mean, it was a split decision. It was a close fight, and Lebedev wants that rematch. So here's the prediction. Wlodarczyk has a speed and a boxing output advantage, whereas Gussiev has youth and power advantages. Gussiev is another in a large number of boxing champions who are learning on the job. He's young. He was 23 years old last week. Just had a birthday. 23 years old a week ago. And he hasn't fought many big names. Kind of like Erickson Lubin a bit. Like Lubin, as I pointed out, it's not the age or the amount of fights that I was concerned with when I was doing my Lubin versus Charlo prediction. It was the level of competition. Lubin fought the same type of guy over and over and over. Guys with no answer to his questions. Lubin asked questions with his punches. The cats he fought had no answers. So when Lubin stepped in with a guy who had questions to ask of his own, he got stopped early. So Gussiev kind of is on that same type of level. With the difference, he passed one test with the Lebedev. Gussiev only has about 13 amateur fights also. So, once again, champions of today, a lot of them they've won their belts too early, and they're still learning on the job. When you look at guys like Gervonta Davis and Jared Hurd, and the list goes on. Some of them are going to pass the tests, some of them aren't. Erickson Lubin wasn't able to pass his test. Wlodarczyk, in this fight, he's going to fight Gussiev like Sergio Martinez or Austin Trout. He's like Martinez, like Trout. He gives a lot of movement, and he's awkward. And I think this will serve him well, especially in the early rounds, which I expect Wlodarczyk to win with his good jab and his awkward movement and activity. Gussiev, on the other hand, is going to come straight at Wlodarczyk. He's looking to land a big right hand or a follow-up left hook like he hit Schimmel with. Now, I can see this fight going either way. Either Wlodarzyk's experience and movement will win him the fight, or at worst, keep him in it, or Gussiev gets to him. I really like the Wlodarczyk jab. I like his movement in this fight, especially early. In the end, however, I believe this fight is going to be like Jarrett Hurd versus Austin Trout, or like Miguel Cotto versus Sergio Martinez, with the younger Gussiev catching up to Wlodarczyk and stopping him. Wlodarczyk hasn't been stopped. I think this Saturday night will be the night. Like Marco Hook, Marco Hook, Wlodarczyk is just a little bit past it. He's still one of those guys that you need to keep an eye on. He's very experienced. He's seen all types of style. He'll be game, but I think he loses here. Now, there's always that Erickson-Lubin play out with Gussiev's lack of experience and world-class opposition. So you have to look at that. I just believe that Gussiev will pass the test, and he will win this fight by a mid-round stoppage over Wlodarczyk. And if he does, pay attention to this. You must, if Gussiev wins, you must watch the semifinal between Gussiev and Junior Dorticos. If Gussiev wins this fight, he will be 25-0 with 18 knockouts. He'll step in there with Junior Dorticos, who's 22-0, 21 knockouts. Trust me, folks, that's a guaranteed knockout. You're either going to see or you're going to miss. But we'll definitely talk about it here. The other semifinal is set. You have the favorite in this tournament, Alexander Usyk, who's 13 wins, 0 losses, 11 knockouts, versus Marius Briedis, who's 23-0, 18 knockouts. So, you're going to look at a 25-0 guy taking on a 22-0 guy, the 13-0 guy taking a 23-0 guy. I mean, do you understand what I'm talking about now? Everybody, all these guys are undefeated. They're fighting. They want to win this tournament, and they want that money. American fighters aren't doing that. So while there is no set, no traditional American television deal, these guys are getting paid. Don't quote me on this, but it went something like you get $1 million for the first round. If you win that, you go up to 1.5 million and then 2 point something million. It's one of those type deals. Win, and you're in the money. Bigger money than you had in your previous fight. With the winner claiming, I believe it's $10 million or something very close. So maybe if they do something like this again, as well as the one in the super middleweight division, if they do this again, American fighters who seem to be kind of becoming free agents now in some respects, if you follow what I'm saying. So if this happens again, hopefully those guys will say, well, listen, let me get in this. Even if I get to the semifinal and get knocked off, I'm going to make more in 2 fights than I made in my past 5. So it's one of those type deals. So the other semifinal, as I stated, 13-0, 11 knockouts, 23-0, 18 knockouts. More than likely, you're going to get a knockout in that one too. But in these semifinals, you have all 4 guys with undefeated records and like 90% knockout rates. You gotta put these fights on television. Somebody step up, even if it's just the semifinals and the final. Come on, Fox. Come on, Spike. Come on, ABC, ESPN, somebody. So there you have it. I like Gussiev over Wlodarczyk, mid-round stoppage. We'll get back to you in a few days with the post-fight report. Please subscribe.